Hello, this is Mrs. Mackey. Today we are converting fractions to decimals. How do we convert a fraction to a decimal? If you look at this page, this is exactly what your iBook should look like. Are you ready? Here we go. First number we're going to talk about is converting. Converting is when you change from one to another. So, one form. In other words, I can convert my pesos into dollars. I can convert my pints into liters. Just changing something around. In this case, we're changing fractions to decimals. Rational numbers are numbers that you'll be studying in more detail later. For right now, just realize that a rational number, when we talk about rational numbers, we're including decimals and fractions. They are numbers that can be written as a quotient. Quotient is the answer to a division problem. So a fraction has a quotient because a fraction is a division problem. There are two different kinds of decimals that we're looking at today. The first one, a repeating decimal, that's a decimal that repeats without end. For example, 0.333333333333333. I could keep on going forever and ever, but eventually I'm going to get tired, and there's a shortcut way of writing that. Our final vocabulary word, our second kind of decimal, is a terminating decimal. That's one that stops. For example, if we're talking about pennies, 0.05. We don't have 0.05. That's not part of that. We normally just stop. Okay. Our first I do is 4 over 25. That's my fraction. I need to change it to a decimal. I picked the number 25 because 25 is money. When I deal with quarters, I know my 25 multiplication facts pretty simply because all I think about is how many quarters do I need. Now, every fraction can be written as a decimal. We do that by dividing the numerator, the top number, by the denominator, the bottom number. So I have this little part to help me remember denominator outside, numerator inside. I set up my division problem. Now you hopefully noticed, but Mrs. Mackey, 25 can't go into 4. You're right, it can't. So I have to add a decimal, and I add a 0. I can add more zeros now or add them later. I keep going. I'm going to go until I find either that it terminates or stops or that it repeats. So let's see. 25 cannot go into 4, so I put a 0. 25 goes into 40 one time. I subtract and get an answer of 15. 15 is less than 25, so I can go on. Add another 0, bring it down. 25 goes into 150. If I think once again about quarters, $1.50 makes up 6 quarters. So my answer is a 6. When I subtract, I have no remainder. Always check my answer. Now, if you look at my answer, I forgot to do something. This is something I normally do right up front so I don't forget. I have to bring this decimal straight up. Here's my answer, 0.16. This is example A. Make sure it's in your notes. Did you notice that this is a terminating decimal? The decimal ends. Your turn. You do. We've got 4/5. I put this reminder up in the corner to help you remember. Pause the video, find the answer. Okay, so you should have the 5 on the outside, the 4 on the inside, and there are 4 more words. The 5 is called the divisor, and the 4 is the dividend, but we're not stressing about that now. 5 cannot go into 4, but 5 can go into 40, so I added my 0. 5 goes into 40 8 times, with nothing left over. Bring up my decimal. I hope that's the answer you got. If not, make sure you fix it and ask in class if you don't know why you missed it. Okay, example B is wrong. This is not example B. Example B is 2/3. Change that into a decimal. So I have my 3 on the outside, because that's my divisor, the number on the bottom, denominator, divisor, and my 2 inside. And I'm going to add my zeros right now, add a couple more. To make sure I don't forget my decimal, I'm going to bring my decimal straight up. Okay, 3 cannot go into 2, but 3 can go into 20. 3 times 6 is 18. Subtract, bring down my 2. And now 3 goes into 20 6 times, that's 18. Bring down my 2. 3 goes into 3 goes into 20 6 times. Oh, I'm hoping you're seeing the pattern. That's right, my 6 is going to repeat. It will repeat from now until the end of time. If I was a bored person with nothing better in my life, I could sit and divide this problem for the next 4 years and still not be done. But I have better things to do with my life. I'm sure you do too. So we would write this problem as 0, but my 6, the 6 repeats. So I put a bar over it because that's the repeating part and box my answer. This is called a repeating decimal. Yay! Get example B in your notes. Okay. Our last problem today is converting 3/11 into a decimal. Pause the video, do it, check your work. Okay, so 11 is my divisor on the outside, 3 is my dividend on the inside. 11 cannot go into 3, but 11 can go into 30. 11 goes into 30 twice. That gives me an answer of 22. Subtract, I get 8. Bring down my 0. 11 into 8 goes 7 times. Whoa! Hello, I'm back. I bet you didn't even know that I was gone, but I had a little interruption and the problem just wasn't going the way I wanted, so we're starting fresh. If you wrote anything down, I can't even remember now if I told you to write or not, but if you wrote anything down, just put an X through it because we're starting fresh on this next problem. Our problem is 3/11. If this was the problem you had, works well too. 11 on the outside, 3 on the inside. Pause and get dividing. All right, so we add our decimals. Bring down. 11 goes into 80 7 times. That gives me 77 with 3, but I'm not done. Bring down. Ooh, Hope you're looking. There should be a pattern coming up because I'm back at 30. So we're at 2, 22 gives me 8. Yes, I was right. There is a pattern. Now, even though I divided this far, remember when you write your answer, this is what's repeating, and that's all you put in your answer. Notice I didn't put the 0 in front. Remember, it's not necessary. A lot of the textbooks will always print it, but normally when we're working, we leave it out. If you want it, that's the same answer, and that's a great answer. You're being more precise than I am. You know me, I'm slightly lazy. Okay, get your 2 questions down. And here's a review. We can write all fractions as decimals, and we do this by dividing the numerator by the denominator. That means my denominator goes outside, my numerator's inside. TTFN.